Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are strapping into a reality that's been defined not by history as we know it, but by a single catastrophic viral event.
That's right.
We're entering a world where, the undead are just a fact of life, and the real danger, the greatest danger, it isn't the shambling mobs, it's the calculated cold manipulation of fear from inside the corridors of power.
Exactly. We have pulled apart a really staggering collection of source material here. It's a deeply layered narrative that outlines the whole anatomy of a society just fundamentally reshaped by the Kellis-Amberlee virus.
So what's our mission today?
It's pretty comprehensive. We need to unpack the new rules of survival, dissect the rise of this citizen journalism that really defines the age, and this is the crucial part, expose the deadly intersection of politics and bioterrorism that reshapes this world's future.
A future paid for in blood, as the sources say.
Yes.
Okay, let's just jump right in then. Let's start with the foundation of this entire post-rising world, the Kellis-Amberlee virus.
KA.
The thing that's truly terrifying here, for me, is the origin story. I mean, this was not some calculated bioweapon. Not from the start. It was, a medical triumph gone terribly cosmically wrong.
The irony is it's devastating. The virus we know as Kellis-Amberlee, it wasn't designed to kill anyone. The sources are really clear on this. It was the accidental result of two, completely separate medical breakthroughs.
Okay, what were they?
First, you had the Kellis cure. This was a treatment designed to eliminate both cancer and the common cold.
Wow. I mean, that alone is...
It's the holy grail, right?
Yep.
And it was super effective, but critically, it was also highly virulent. It was based on the rhinovirus, the common cold, so it was designed to spread.
So wait, Kellis was designed to spread through the whole human population, but not to kill. It was meant to permanently cure humanity of cancer and cold.
That was the goal, an incredible accomplishment. But then you introduced the second part, the Marburg-Amberlee virus. This was a totally different thing. It was a highly targeted therapy designed to kill cancerous cells and then just go dormant in the body. The goal was to eradicate the cancer without any lingering effects. It was revolutionary.
And the catastrophe happens when these two forces meet. One designed for universal spread, the other for targeted attack.
They didn't just meet, they amplified each other. It was this terrifying synergistic effect. The Kellis cure and Marburg-Amberlee, they combine into one single unified virus that stays dormant, and this is the key in all human beings, globally.
All of them.
All of them. So this isn't about a risk of infection. It's about a universal ticking clock inside every single person.
So if it's dormant, what's the trigger? What makes it, wake up?
Amplification. The virus just sits there, quiescent, until the host dies or suffers some kind of severe catastrophic trauma,
Right.
a major drop in blood pressure, certain types of massive injury, brain death, things like that. At that point, the viral load just activates all at once across the entire body, and that leads to reanimation, that is, the rising.
Which brings us to the core problem, the one that just completely eliminates any sense of safety.
Yeah.
Everyone is infected.
Exactly.
The sources make it so clear. The virus is inside every single person, just waiting.
Yeah.
You are not uninfected. You're just pre-amplification.
And that word, uninfected, becomes this, it's just an artificial feeling of security. It's a psychological crutch. You're just waiting for your personal stockpile of the virus to wake up.
And when it does...
It drives the the zombies, with two very distinct, very dependable goals.
Which are?
Feeding the virus in themselves, so eating, and spreading the virus, biting, smearing bodily fluids, that kind of thing.
The sources are also really important for pointing out what the infected aren't.
Oh, absolutely. They're not creative. They don't have complex emotions like hate or, the ability to plan things. They are dependable. They're driven purely by viral imperative. The threat comes from their numbers and their relentless sort of mechanical instinct.
And it's that dependability, that predictability, that forced society to build these rigid, universal protocols for survival.
It had to. The danger is universal and it's predictable, so society developed this hyper-regulated structure. And it all starts with an extremely detailed system of hazard rating zones.
This zoning system, it's such a clear sign of how normalized the threat has become. It runs from, level 10, which is the safest you can be.
Right, most benign.
All the way down to level 1, which the sources describe chillingly as a shoot-on-sight zone.
Yeah, where authorities just assume anyone moving is either infected or about to be.
So let's break down the classifications. Level 10 means resident mammals present. What does that actually mean in practice?
It implies a contained, secure environment, a place where every organism with enough body mass to amplify is monitored and accounted for. So you're talking about high security facilities, maybe some ultra-safe residential complexes.
But the line between these zones is so thin. The sources give this one example that just, it speaks volumes. A safe neighborhood, rated level 10, instantly drops to a level 9 if kids are allowed to play outside.
And why? Because those children represent free-range mammals. They're mobile. They're unpredictable viral reservoirs that are incredibly difficult to contain if an amplification suddenly happens.
Can you just imagine that? The legal classification for your kids playing in the yard is a safety downgrade.
It's institutionalized fear defining what a normal childhood even is anymore.
And the Mason family house, where our main characters live, that's classified as a level 7 hazard. And it's not arbitrary. It's a checklist of risks.
And that level 7 status is taxing. It means they have free-range mammals, the people themselves, large enough for full amplification. They've got local wildlife that can drag viral traces onto the property, and critically, their borders aren't secure enough.
And the windows.
The windows, yeah. Anything larger than 1.5 feet in diameter is considered a major liability.
A window. A basic architectural feature is now an invitation for an attack.
And that constant need for security, it bleeds directly into the law. It shapes not just, physical walls, but cultural norms. And the best example of that is Mason's Law.
Mason's Law is so important because it draws this hard line based purely on viral risk. It restricts keeping any mammal over 40 pounds.
40 pounds. That's the accepted minimum body mass required for a full, rapid viral amplification when something dies.
And that one simple law has this profound kind of jarring impact on the culture. The sources talk about how representations of large animals, coyote statues, steer skulls, they're all out of fashion.
They make people deeply uncomfortable. It represents a danger that society just decided to get rid of. People would rather have art of birds or fish or reptiles, things that can't amplify.
And you see the friction this creates immediately. The Ryman family, who are central to the big conspiracy, they're horse breeders.
Right. And since horses are obviously way over the 40-pound limit, their entire profession is viewed by some groups as this dangerous, glorified hobby.
They're seen as a public menace.
Exactly. Advocacy groups are constantly pushing to shut down any facility that keeps animals capable of amplification. They argue the threat to the community just outweighs any economic or cultural benefit. A large dog is no longer a pet. It's reckless negligence.
So this threat, this constant universal threat, it just infiltrates every single daily routine. You're talking about everyday decontamination that makes life just hypervigilant.
Oh, completely. The first thing you do when you get home from anywhere is the bleach shower. It's this stinging mix of antiseptic and bleach that sprays from wall nozzles. It's designed to kill any surface viral traces before you can track them into the house.
And there's a legal limit on it, right? 30 seconds.
30 seconds maximum, unless you've been in a level 2 zone or higher. Beyond that, everyone knows the effectiveness drops off, but fear dictates people still want it done.
The fact that they have to legislate how long you can spray corrosive chemicals on yourself,
it
just shows how deep the fear runs.
And even inside their level 7 home, the routine is meticulous. Clothes go straight into an industrial-grade bleach hamper, sealed, sterilized, and they're constantly scanning for blood, for any viral traces.
With the blacklight UV lamps.
Yep. Low wattage bulbs that won't damage your eyes, just constantly scanning for anything that fluoresces. Cleaning isn't just cleaning anymore, it's a minute-by-minute security check. You're always looking for the hidden sign of failure.
And this fear, it drives everything. It even drives the design of their infrastructure. The family minivan is the perfect example.
It's not just a car. It's a self-contained survival pod. It's kept ready for a siege at all times.
With what? Food? Water?
Food, water, CDC-certified biohazard units for medication. Enough to last a week. It even has a coffee maker.
Well, some comforts are non-negotiable, I guess.
Apparently. But the protection is serious. Steel-reinforced windows. They're preparing to be trapped in that vehicle while things are trying to smash their way in to get at the free-range mammals inside.
It's just a stunning psychological portrait. The sources have this chilling observation. We are a nation equally afraid of gathering together because of the amplification risk in a crowd and being alone, because being alone means no backup.
And the psychological cost is enormous. The average American, the sources note, is in therapy by the age of 16. That's not a trend. It's a direct consequence of a world where your neighbor, your child, your pet is a walking, talking, viral time bomb.
Every social interaction is a risk calculation.
Yeah.
Which brings us perfectly to part 2, the new media order. If everyone is terrified and locked down, how does information even move? And maybe more importantly, who do they trust to deliver it?
The answer is they don't trust the old guard. The initial outbreak caused this profound, permanent death of trust. The big, regulated news agencies, they failed. Spectacularly.
They were too slow.
Too slow, they downplayed it, they flat out lied to keep people calm, which of course just caused mass panic when the truth finally got out.
So the public shifted. They turned to citizen journalism, to bloggers, because they were fast, prolific, and there were enough of them that you could. What's the phrase the sources used?
Triangulate on the truth.
Right. It was this decentralized model where your credibility was bought with your proximity to danger.
It's the ultimate market correction for misinformation. If you get your news from 6 or 9 different bloggers and they're all reporting similar facts, even if their opinions differ, you can sort of distill the reality from the noise. And this need for unfiltered information led to these very specific blogger archetypes.
Okay, let's define them, because this really dictates the whole media ecosystem. First up, the Newsie. This is Georgie Mason.
Right. For the Newsie, the focus is facts, caution, and no jargon. Danger is just. It's a side effect of the job. It's the environment they have to work in. It's not the reason they do it. They want to be the next Edward R. Murrow or Hunter S. Thompson. They believe in the power of the word.
And then you've got the Irwins, Shaun Mason's role. Named after Steve Irwin, obviously.
Obviously. And they thrive on wandering blindly into danger. They want the shock value, the visceral reality of the infected. And Irwin can make a trip to the corner store for a candy bar look like a death-defying mission.
But there's a caveat there, right? The sources say their morals have to stay true.
Yes, that's critical. They'll prioritize a good story over, meticulous fact-checking in the moment, but the core truth has to be there. They are the spectacle that keeps people engaged and aware of the constant peril. They bring in the traffic.
Third type is the fictional. Buffy Massinier.
The fictionals are the storytellers. They're social, they focus on the human side of things, they'll write, epic poetry about viral bodies or focus on the emotional toll. They provide the catharsis that the straight-up newsies often miss.
And they tend to be paranoid, operate in groups.
Very much so. It's for mutual protection, for comfort. They're processing the existential dread of it all.
And finally, the stewards, the aggregators.
Yeah. The outsiders. They edit remotely, they interview by phone, and they claim their objectivity comes from their distance. They aren't in the field, so they say they're unbiased.
A position our core journalists completely reject.
Oh, they despise it. They argue that being distanced from the news is a bad thing. It leads to this antiseptic, unearned commentary. The Mason team views it as cowardly and compromised.
But no matter what kind of blogger you are, you need a license to operate in the field.
Yeah.
An A-class license. And this is where lethal proficiency and journalism just slam into each other.
To get an A-class license, which you absolutely need to enter dangerous zones, you have to pass these rigorous government tests. And what's the main focus of these tests?
Accurate headshot.
Accurate headshots. With a variety of firearms, your license, your career, depends on your ability to reliably stop an amplification before it can start.
So the reporter is now also a paramilitary scout. Georgia and Shaun have A-15 licenses. That clears them for field work, but it still bars them from level 3 zones or higher.
And that's an age thing. To get an A-10 license for a level 3 zone, you have to be 25. Doesn't matter how good a shot you are. It's the government's distrust of young people in extreme combat situations, a distrust born from failures during the Rising.
And the gear they need to do this job has to be, well, it has to be cutting edge, but also completely redundant.
Let's talk about the van. It's a converted news van, but now it's a state-of-the-art traveling blog center. It has its own wireless tower, multiple backup storage arrays, which is essential, and specialized decontamination systems for the zones they frequent.
And the personal gear is just as intense. Georgia carries this big handheld MP3 recorder with 5 terabytes of storage.
5 terabytes. And the backup recorder, the one built into her watch, holds 30 megabytes.
That disparity says everything.
It does. It shows you the sheer volume of data they have to capture instantly, knowing every tiny detail might be the one that matters.
Communication is also a problem. They use disguised cell phones, ear cuffs, with a 50-hour battery life. But the sources mentioned their advanced voice recognition software still struggles with, colloquial English.
It's a funny reminder, isn't it? For all the advanced biocontainment and weaponry, they're still fighting with early 21st century tech problems.
And all this risk, it comes with a very solemn ritual, the wall.
The wall it's more than a memorial. It's a living archive. It preserves the final entries, audio, text, video of every single blogger who died during the summer of 14, the worst of the outbreak.
Yeah.
And new names are always being added.
It's a tribute, but it's also a repository of knowledge.
Exactly. It's how they triangulate the truth. If someone died trying to cross a bridge, their last entry tells you why that route failed. It's a vast, decentralized database of hard-won, paid-for-in-blood operational knowledge.
A constant, stark reminder of the cost. And this danger, combined with most of the population being locked down, it totally shifts the role of the reporter. They become the new reality stars.
Absolutely. The sources estimate 87% of the population is living in fear, unwilling to leave their homes regularly. So the reporters are the ones taking the risks, doing the mundane things that normal people now avoid, like eating at a restaurant.
They're a spectacle of normal life in an abnormal world. The source describes it as a snake devouring its own tail.
It's a perfect description. The reporters report on the risks they're taking, which confirms the public's reason for staying home, which in turn elevates the reporter's celebrity status. It's a feedback loop.
And that celebrity status means they have to deal with paparazzi.
A bizarre dynamic. The paparazzi flocks are both a source of income, they sell stories when things are slow, and a kind of obstacle course for the newsies.
An obstacle course.
Yeah. A newsie has to get used to being swarmed by bodies without panicking, without reaching for their gun. It prepares them for the chaos of a real field operation, for a sudden amplification in a crowd. If you can handle photographers, maybe you can handle a horde.
It's a terrifying ecosystem. The pursuit of truth is tied to fame and a very high probability of a violent death. And that is the context for the biggest story of all. A political conspiracy that weaponizes the very virus that shaped their world.
And this is where the whole narrative pivots. It goes from survival reality to this really troubling political thriller. It all centers on the campaign of Senator Peter Ryman.
He's a moderate-leaning liberal who aligns with the Republican Party, and he relies on the Masons blog, After the End Times, for objective coverage.
Right. He's trying to find a middle ground. His opponent, Governor David Tate, is not. He's a far-right conservative from Texas, and his platform is explicitly designed to leverage public fear.
Tate's platform is. It's a blueprint for reactionism, based on the sources. He supports the death penalty, overturning Roe v. Wade.
But his key policies are about the post-rising reality. He wants to loosen Mason's law, allowing larger animals closer to cities, while at the same time tightening the Raskin-Watts Act.
That seems contradictory. Loosen animal restrictions, which increases the viral risk, but tighten the anti-terrorism laws.
It's an escalation strategy. Tate wants to increase the visible domestic threat by relaxing Mason's law, bring the danger closer. That then justifies the need for this incredibly harsh, tightened security apparatus under Raskin-Watts. He believes that only through intense, visible conflict will the country get back to his idea of God and safety.
Okay, we have to talk about the Raskin-Watts Act of 2012. It's the legal foundation for this whole conspiracy. What does it do?
Raskin-Watts is the cornerstone of their counterterrorism law. It federally defines using weaponized live state Kellis-Amberlee, deliberately using zombies as weapons, as an act of terrorism, punishable by death.
And there's a precedent for this.
A huge one. The act is named after Jeff Raskin and Reed Watts, two guys who were executed after they used captive zombies to spread KA in Warsaw, Indiana.
The primary wave killed almost 800 people.
793, yeah. The court was explicit. Using KA as a weapon against civilians isn't just murder, it's state-level terrorism.
And this legal precedent is what sets the stage for the true horror of the Ryman campaign. The realization that the assassination attempt wasn't a normal political hit. It was bioterrorism.
The Mason team confirms this through two key incidents. First, the Eakley attack, where the senator's convoy was hit by a coordinated zombie attack.
The official story would be, what, bad luck, mechanical failure.
Right. But the Masons' investigation proved the perimeter screamer wires, the heat-sensitive motion sensors, they had been intentionally cut before the attack.
Sabotage.
Pure sabotage, not an accident. Someone with inside knowledge of the security setup neutralized the defenses to make the attack possible. This elevates it from a random zombie ambush to a targeted operation.
But the real smoking gun, the absolute proof, came from the Ryman family ranch during the investigation into Rebecca Ryman's death.
Right. Rebecca, the senator's daughter, was killed trying to save her sisters after an outbreak started with their prize horse, Goldie.
And the Mason team, specifically Georgia, found the evidence. A sealed hypodermic syringe that had been injected into the horse.
And the contents, I mean, they were staggering.
It had an estimated 900 million microns of live KA virus. Let's put that number in perspective.
It's exponential overkill. The sources say you only need about 10 microns of live Ka to start an unstoppable viral cascade in a host that big.
So 900 million is.
It's a guaranteed catastrophic viral detonation. It was designed to ensure immediate, widespread amplification and mass infection across the entire ranch. It was an act of pure terror.
So this wasn't just about killing a horse to trigger an amplification. This was designed to create maximum observable terror using weaponized Ka, which falls squarely under Raskin-Watts.
Unmistakably, Rebecca Ryman was murdered in a calculated act of bioterrorism. It was designed to destroy the senator's family, attack his profession, and derail his campaign by making him look unsafe.
And the danger, as it so often does, came from the inside. The sources reveal the internal threat that compromised the whole investigation was Buffy Meissonier. The team's fictional.
Yeah. Buffy had been working for anonymous handlers. She recorded a confession before she died, once she realized what she'd done. She'd been giving them access to their databases, tracking the Ryman campaign's movements.
And she thought she was a patriot.
She believed she was helping make the country stronger. She was convinced by her handlers that she was feeding information to people who would restore true order.
But she realized too late what was really happening.
Way too late. After the ranch attack, she saw the murderous intent behind it all. She thought she was serving a cause, but she was enabling domestic terrorism.
Her betrayal, exposing Tate, the viral evidence, it all led directly to the final targeted attack on the Mason team.
Near Sacramento, they were hit with car bombs.
The sources confirmed their trailers exploded. It was designed to destroy their equipment, their mobile blog center, and kill the journalists. Silence the evidence.
And in the assault, the tragedy just compounded. Buffy was bitten. She knew she was about to amplify. She begged Georgia to shoot her.
To prevent her from turning and harming the others.
And Georgia had to do it. She had to execute her friend, Georgette Marie Meissonier, to maintain control. It's the moral line they have to walk every single day.
But the assassins weren't done. Georgia herself was hit with a Ka-filled dart. A final, desperate attempt to silence the Newsie before she could report the syringe evidence.
And with her own conversion clock ticking, Shaun, in a frantic race against time, he injects her with this two-barrel array of sedatives and her own hyperactivated white blood cells.
An extreme experimental measure.
To buy her hours. Just a few hours of lucidity.
Just enough time for her to type her final report. To get the truth out. Her dying act was literally filing her last story.
And the cover-up started immediately. An anonymous call was placed to the CDC, claiming the entire Mason team was dead and virus positive.
And crucially, that call came in 2 minutes before Georgia's own distress call.
Proving foreknowledge, proving coordination by the conspirators. They were ready to wipe the official record clean before the victims could even report their own attack.
And the government's response to this evidence, it was swift and very, very telling. When the Masons found that syringe, the U.S. Army immediately seized it.
And refused to disclose its contents to the accredited journalists who found it. It was a clear institutional cover-up from moment one. The evidence of federal-level terrorism was taken out of the hands of the people who risked their lives to uncover it.
The CDC is shown to be just as secretive, highly sensitive to public panic. They use private planes, top-tier equipment like Apple XH229 blood testing kits. They're serious, but they're not sharing.
And Governor Tate, facing exposure, he basically solidifies his position as the man willing to do anything to enforce his vision.
He reveals himself as the architect.
He believed that using bioterrorism was necessary to force the country back toward God and safety. He saw the Ka virus not as a tragedy to be contained, but as a test of moral fiber that society was failing.
But Georgia Mason's legacy, that wasn't going to be extinguished. In the aftermath, Shaun, grieving but furious, makes this powerful vow.
He immediately reactivates Mahir, his former second-in-command, and promotes him to site leader. And he gives him one non-negotiable mission.
We're not letting them kill my sister's story the way they killed her. She gets buried. It doesn't.
He told Mahir to get anybody they could find. Newsies, Irwins, fictionals, work the forums, watch the feeds, and make sure that information got out beyond the control of the conspirators. The battle wasn't about surviving the infected anymore. It was about surviving the truth.
So if we connect all this, the takeaway is crystal clear. A powerful political faction, led by Tate, used bioterrorism, the live Ka virus, against its own people to consolidate power and push an extreme agenda, all of it justified by manufactured fear.
The greatest threat in this post-rising world was never the zombie outside the walls. It was the living, breathing manipulation of the disease and the normalization of this paralyzing institutionalized fear.
Which brings us to Georgia Mason's final chilling conclusion. the one she delivered in her last report. She realized the world is addicted to fear.
Fear, she writes, justifies everything. It makes it okay to surrender freedom after freedom until your every move is tracked and scrutinized. Fear defines their world, limiting human potential every single day, all in the name of a safety they will never, ever achieve.
It's the ultimate paradox. Their ancestors dreamed of a world without boundaries, a unified globe. But this society, they only dream of new boundaries, new walls, new laws, new codes to put around their homes and their rapidly shrinking lives.
And yet, despite the danger, despite the military seizure and the bombings, the truth did get out. It was paid for by the lives on the wall: Buffy's life, George's life, and so many others who reported back until their very last breath.
So we'll leave you with the question that Georgia Mason herself posed as her final sign-off. Was the truth worth the cost? If you asked her, the Newsie who lived and died for the facts, she'd tell you no, because there isn't any other answer.
The truth is necessary, but the price is always too high.
So reflect on that idea of boundaries in your own world. When fear is the currency, how many freedoms are you willing to surrender for a safety that's always just out of reach? And who benefits most when you make that trade? Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into a world where the horror is already over, but the real nightmare of political manipulation has just begun. We'll see you next time.